Hello, Great Bend. My name's Rebecca. I work for an organization called ESDAC, and I get to be kind of on the sidelines of the Barton County Academy, where folks can go and get their high school diploma if they dropped out. And I also have got to be a real big part of the beginning process of building Great Bend's core community site. This work is really precious to me. In 2011, I was 7 months clean and sober, had a long history with meth, and finished that rodeo off with severe alcoholism. So I got clean in January 4th, on January 4th of 2011. 7 months clean and sober, I was living in a trailer house that should have been condemned in McPherson, in the small hidden ghetto on the west end of town. I'd been in college for almost a decade trying to get a 4-year degree to be a high school art teacher. I had a car that was faithful to nothing but breakdowns. And my oldest son and my youngest son just really struggled behaviorally. And every day I'd get up and I'd pray as hard as I knew how to pray, and I'd run as fast as I knew how to run, but just kind of this bone-crushing weight of poverty just kept spinning me back. It seemed like I would get a little bit ahead and then something would just nail me and I'd be 3 steps back, and, you know, just exhausted on a daily basis, scared on a daily basis, overwhelmed. And if I'm really honest, I had a lot of shame. A girlfriend of mine told me about a church that had a diaper ministry and that I could just go in there and get diapers for my youngest, no questions asked. And I didn't want to go there and get diapers, right? But I needed help. So I started frequenting this diaper ministry, you know, a couple times a month, and would get diapers. And the lady that ran that ministry, she just kind of took a shine to me. And whenever I'd come in the building, she would just kind of light up and stop whatever she was doing. And she learned my name and she learned my kids' names. And one day I was in there and I was kind of telling her that I promised when I got through college and got my kids to a better place, we're going to come and give back so that other moms could have this, because it meant so much to me. You know, I kind of had tears in my eyes, and Lynette was her name. And Lynette just kind of lovingly shook her head and pointed to a flyer that said something about a class to get out of poverty. And my first thought was, what are these people going to teach me about getting out of poverty that I'm not already doing? I was working and in college full time, and, you know, but I kind of was like, I felt like I owed her this kind of debt because I got so many diapers from her, and I was like, oh boy, I better sign up. And she said, yeah, it's going to be great. There's going to be childcare and a meal, and the parents go to class, and there's all these middle-class people there for support. And all of that sounded absolutely horrifying to me, right? But out of this debt that I felt like I owed Lynette, I showed up that first night, suspicious, kind of expected to have this middle-class judgment. Look at your kids, look at your life, here's where you messed up. Kind of that fix me attitude that I had encountered so many times on my journey. But that's not what happened. You know, I went into a room with, I don't know, probably 60 people. It was a full-blown process. And these, what I considered powerful looking middle-class women, just came over and scooped up my little boys. And they took me and about 8 other parents into a room, and they sat us down and they said, look, here's the deal. We see families struggling in our county, and we think the root cause of that is poverty, and we want to solve it. And we need people like you who are living it to tell us what to do and what you need. So instantly they disarmed me and they empowered me. And I kind of left that first night, and the other thing that they didn't say, but what I heard for the very first time in my entire existence in this community was, hey, Rebecca, we see you guys now, and we want to know how to help. So I left that first night just kind of blown away. I'd never heard middle-class people talk about poverty like that before. Kind of like they knew my story. So I started going and hanging out, and it didn't take long before I realized I was missing a ton of information, and that I figured out that I was an expert at putting out fires in my life, but that I didn't know anything about fire prevention. And I think one of the biggest things that began to happen was I wasn't judged and I wasn't shamed. I was actually going through a process that helped me understand what was beautiful about my culture, what was beautiful about families in poverty. And also, I started to build relationships with people who were not like me, And I started to have the ability to ask questions. But I think the biggest thing that happened was I started to be able to dream, to really dream about the future that I wanted for me and my kids. And truth be told, before that, I had dreams, but they were painful to talk about because life had taught me that life's going to be hard. I'm going to need to be tough. And as I kind of shared earlier, I had tried my whole life. I worked my butt off my whole life, and I just wasn't getting anywhere. So I fell in love with these people, and I accepted the invitation after the class to stay on for 2 to 5 more years to get myself and my kids out of poverty permanently. And I began that journey. I started in September of 2011. Right around the middle of 2012, I graduated from college, and there was a job opening at that poverty project. And I prayed, and they hired me. I applied, and they hired me because nobody else applied, right? So I got to become the poverty project coach. And from 2012 to 2017, I got to be a part of building the largest, most successful poverty project like that in the entire country, getting more people completely out of poverty, mostly generational poverty, than any other project had ever done, including me and my 3 little boys. I started in 2011, and I didn't get out of poverty until 2014. And there were times where I was exhausted, I was overwhelmed, I was frustrated, I was ticked off. But I had these people in my life that were just like, keep going. And they started to open doors for me. And they loved me, and they were curious about me, and I was important to them. They weren't there to fix me. They were there to walk alongside of me and also kind of co-heal some stuff in their own lives, right? Along the way, I started doing some consulting in school systems. And in 2017, I left the Poverty Project in McPherson and became the director over the learning centers from the organization ESDAC in Kansas. We had learning centers in multiple communities. And I took that position with the request that I could build poverty projects in partnership with core ministries, youth core ministries out of Greensburg. And so I think it was probably like March of 2017, I showed up in Great Bend and met Shelley Snyder and Amy Boxberger, and we started casting a vision. I can tell you the year that I started the core project in McPherson, I made $7,700 earned income that year. And I was in a trailer house that should have been condemned, a car that barely ran. It was actually broke down more than it was running. All kinds of bills chasing me. A lot of emotional and mental health stuff. A lot of trauma. And within a few years, I became a homeowner and got out of debt and watched my kids' lives turn around. It's been incredible. And if you're watching this tonight, I'm wondering what is happening in your life. And I wonder if any of this speaks to you. We're going to start a new class in Great Bend, and we're recruiting. We're looking for families that are trying to get a job and can't get a job, that are working their tails off at a job or multiple jobs and they're not getting anywhere. We're really looking for families that this story speaks to, who are like, I want something better. Poverty is not your fault. It's not your fault. Poverty conditions us. We have rules in poverty that must be followed in order to survive. And what we want to do is invite you and your partner, your spouse, and your kids to come into a process. Just spend 20 weeks with us. Once a week, you'll come. The Getting Ahead class lasts 20 weeks, and then there'll be a graduation. And then after that, you can make a decision if you want to stay on for 2 to 5 more years to get yourself out of poverty permanently. You know, the first night I showed up to the project, they showed me a piece of paper, and it said, for me to be out of poverty with 3 little boys, I needed to make $48,000 a year. I just kind of looked at them and blinked. Like, I didn't even know anybody that made that much money, right? And they're like, Rebecca, just say yes. Just say yes to the possibility that that could be your story. And I did. And I hung that piece of paper on my fridge, and I walked by and I talked to that piece of paper with that dollar amount on it. It's crazy. I know that sounds nuts, but now I live in my dream home with an amazing husband. My kids, our cabinets are full. My gas tank's full. I have a job where I get to contribute. I have a future. My kids have a future. My kids don't remember survival. They kind of remember the oldest one and maybe the middle one, but they really don't remember. And I'm able to help others. I'm able to help others, and we need you. If you're experiencing poverty in Great Bend, you are the expert on poverty in Great Bend, not somebody that studied it, not somebody that's done reports. It's you. You're the expert. And we need you at our table. We need you at our table to help us understand what poverty is and what it isn't in Great Bend. And we want you with us so that we can co-create the life that you're supposed to have, the life that you deserve. So if you're interested, please reach out to Amy Boxberger, the Barton County Academy. There's Stephen Pauly, Jamie Baldwin. Find us. We're going to start a class soon. And we really hope that you'll be a part of that. And I hope I get to meet you soon and learn more about your story, as I've just shared a little bit of mine. Okay, bye-bye.